What if I told you that one single battle turned peaceful farmland into one of the deadliest graveyards the world has ever known? What if I told you that in just one morning, thousands of young men were cut down before they even took 10 steps forward? And what if I told you that this wasn't the end of the story, but only the beginning of 5 months of unimaginable horror? This is the Battle of the Somme, and today I'm going to take you through it like you've never heard it before. Not just names and dates, but the raw human story, fear, courage, mistakes, innovations, and the legacy that still haunts us today. Strap in, because by the end of this hour you'll see why the Somme was more than just a battle. It was the moment war itself changed forever. Let's go back to 1916. The First World War has been raging for 2 years. Millions of men are stuck in trenches from the North Sea to Switzerland. It's a stalemate. The French are being bled dry at Verdun, where the Germans are throwing everything they've got. Britain needs to help. And so the British High Command makes a choice. They will launch an enormous offensive along the River Somme in northern France. The plan? To smash through the German defenses, take the pressure off Verdun and finally break the deadlock. On paper, it sounds like a bold strategy. In reality, it would become one of the most brutal slaughters in human history. The preparations begin with a promise. For a full week before the attack, British artillery will pound the German trenches, over 1.5 million shells. The generals assure the men, nothing can survive this. When you go over the top, you'll walk across no man's land. The wire will be gone, the machine guns destroyed, the enemy annihilated. That reassurance is everything to these young soldiers. Many are barely out of school. Some join together in pals battalions, about friends, co-workers, whole communities enlisting side by side. They believe they're marching to glory. They believe they'll be heroes. They have no idea that what awaits them is not glory, but carnage. For 7 days, the bombardment shakes the earth. Villages vanish under shell fire. The men wait in their trenches, the ground trembling beneath them. They write letters home. They sing songs to drown out the constant roar. They tell themselves that when the whistles blow, it will be easy. But here's the cruel truth. The shells are mostly light, many of them duds, and the Germans? They're hiding deep underground in bunkers of reinforced concrete. They're waiting. Then comes July 1st, 1916. The whistles blow. Tens of thousands of men climb out of their trenches, rifles in hand, hearts pounding. They move in long lines, shoulder to shoulder, across the open fields of no man's land. And then it begins. The German machine guns open fire. The sound is deafening, like cloth ripping endlessly in the sky. Men drop in rows. Entire battalions are cut down before they've gone 20 yards. Artillery shells burst among them. Officers blow whistles desperately, trying to keep order. But the slaughter is uncontrollable. By the end of that first day, the British suffer nearly 60,000 casualties. 20,000 dead. In a single day. The worst day in British military history. Stop and imagine that number. Whole communities back home wiped out in one morning. Entire soccer teams, whole factories gone. And yet, the battle doesn't end there. It has only just begun. For 5 long months, the Somme drags on, attack after attack, week after week. The fields become oceans of mud and blood. The air is thick with the stench of death. Soldiers live among corpses, rats, lice, and endless shellfire. They fight not just the enemy, but the ground itself, mud that swallows horses, trenches that collapse in rain, barbed wire that tangles like steel thorns. But here's where things get even more haunting. Despite the horror, innovation emerges. The Somme sees the first appearance of the tank, massive iron monsters designed to crush wire and cross trenches. They are slow, unreliable, often breaking down before reaching the front. But when they work, they terrify the enemy. This is the future of war, born in the nightmare of the Somme, and the men, they keep going. Why? Because they have no choice. Orders are orders. Survival means pushing forward, clinging to any scrap of hope. They fight not just for victory, but for the man beside them, for their friends, for their battalions. Think about the psychological toll. Every day, soldiers watch comrades shredded before their eyes. They write last letters in the dark, knowing they might never see dawn. They live with fear as constant as breathing, and yet they climb the ladders, they go over the top again and again. That resilience, that endurance, is almost beyond comprehension. By the time the battle finally ends in November 1916, over 1 million men on both sides are killed, wounded, or missing. The Allies have advanced barely a few miles. Was it worth it? Historians still argue. Some say it was pointless slaughter. Others say it was necessary to wear down the German army. But for the men who fought, the debate doesn't matter. For them, it was 5 months of hell. Now let's step back. Why does the Somme matter? Because it marks a turning point. It showed the world that the old ways of war, marching in lines, glorious charges, heroic cavalry, were gone forever. Modern war was industrial. It was machines, artillery, attrition. The Somme was the proof, but the legacy goes deeper. Visit the Somme today and you'll see endless cemeteries, white headstones stretching to the horizon. Each one a life cut short. Each one a reminder that behind the numbers were real people, with families, with dreams, with futures stolen. Farmers still plow up bones, rusted helmets, and live shells from the fields. The land itself refuses to forget. So what can we learn? That courage exists even in horror. That resilience can carry men through the unthinkable. But also that hubris, poor planning, and blind faith in outdated tactics can cost hundreds of thousands of lives. The Somme is more than history. It's a warning. About the price of arrogance, about the reality of modern war, about the cost of endurance. And every time we tell this story, we make sure those voices, silenced in 1916, are still heard. Because the Battle of the Somme wasn't just fought in trenches and fields. It was fought in hearts, in minds, and in the very soul of humanity. And its echo still reaches us today.